Hi there, welcome to Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Libra energy. And we're just going to get some cards out to tell us a story. And then we're going to see how people are harnessing their Libra energy. This might be something more that people who are a Libra sun sign or have significant Libra placements might be dealing with, but it's Libra energy in general, and we all tap into Libra energy, and Libra energy has to do with what our truth is and what we think is just and fair, but people are going to handle this energy differently because, we know all these different people in the world, and we know really young people, we know young adults, we know middle-aged people, we know older people, and, everybody at every stage of life has their idea of what they think is just and fair. And sometimes people who are much younger are much more stable, balanced, and mature. And sometimes some people who are older are imbalanced and not very mature. And so it's kind of like the lessons that we've learned in life and what lessons we haven't learned in life. And love is to be just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And for some people, it doesn't matter how old they are. They have not learned that lesson. And some people have learned that lesson. And so, anyway, that's how we're going to read it. Listen to your intuition about where you might be in the story and how you harness your own Libra energy. And listen to your intuition about other people in your life. And if you particularly are a Libra sun sign or know someone who is, listen to your intuition about that. Oh, and at the end of the story, we have the Justice card, which is Libra energy, and Libra's represented by the scales of justice. At the end of the story here also, we have the King of Pentacles, and the way I read tarot is that the masculine energies can represent how we're presenting ourselves in the world and how we're taking action in the world, but the King of Pentacles in high vibe is that you have learned these lessons and you freed yourself from things that manipulate you, because I view the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy. Shadowy Capricorn energy is the devil. So we all have our worldly nature. Have we learned these lessons in life to get more balance within ourselves, temper our ego, our more immature nature, prideful, egotistical, think it should be more about me, looking to all these other things to be the answer? Or have, in high vibe, holding the one pentacle means that people have been illuminated to the truth and they really are who they say they are. Those people are going to move forward, taking action in truth and love, maintaining balance within themselves, being who they say they are. I am not more immature, prideful, egotistical, bossy, controlling, full of myself, male or female. Because when we go take action in the world, the kings can represent, when we go take action in the world, it's considered masculine energy. But how do we really think and feel? That's the feminine figures. We're going to talk about those in a moment. But people are going to go present themselves in the world. Some of them have learned those lessons in life. They are more just and fair. They are more motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness and treating other people the way they like to be treated. And other people are going to go out in the world kind of turning their back to a higher truth and justice and think, there is no higher truth and justice. I think I can do what I want to do. And I'm just going to present myself as a more emotionally mature person. And until people realize the truth of it, then they'll buy into the illusion. Because in high vibe energy, you are being authentic and you are who you say you are. Shadowy energy is trying to create the illusion that that's who you are when you're not. So we start out with the Judgment card, and the reason it came out is because of the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands and Sagittarius energy is about higher learning and education. And we have to get out of our ego to be willing to learn lessons in life, to grow up and mature ourselves and temper our shadowy Sagittarius energy and our shadowy Capricorn Libra energy, where we kind of want to indulge our more defensive nature, defensive to love, defensive to being more just and fair, to learning lessons in life. And everybody right now, at any given moment in people's life, they are making a judgment and a decision. And some people are deciding, I'm defensive to really growing up and maturing myself and tempering my ego and taking accountability for my actions. The truth sets us free. Libra is kind of represented, I view it as the King of Swords. And in the Justice card, they have that sword. The truth sets us free. But you have to be willing to see the truth. Shadowy energy can be, I don't want to see the truth. Defensive to the truth. Defensive to growing up and maturing myself and tempering my more immature, worldly, egoic, or just defensive to love because I get hurt doing love. So that's what some people have decided, and some people already decided that, and that's their truth and they're sticking to it. And other people had to go through some life experiences to be willing to see the truth that some of the people in their life, they harness their Libra energy different. Again, we all tap into Libra energy of what we think is just and fair. And the Nine of Wands can talk about feeling wounded. That we've been in relationships with people who we thought were who they said they were willing to get out of their defensiveness or their more immature nature or egoic nature or being more caught up in these things of the world that they make important. And they've been wounded. And those people are going to go through this process here of seeing the truth. There's certain ways of being, thinking, behaving. People that I hang out with, I can't do that anymore. Because I'm tired of being wounded. And the truth will set me free. And again, high vibe Sagittarius is about higher learning and education. I've decided I'm going to wrap my brain around this game of life. I don't want this to keep happening. So there must be something that isn't working out right if I keep being wounded. And I need to see the truth. I need to see the truth where I might be defensive, where I might be immature, where I maybe need to heal or grow and mature myself. And I also need to see the truth about the type of people I get in a relationship with. Quit staying in denial of the truth. We can get in more mismatched relationships. And we can get in a lot of mismatched relationships because we get in these relationships to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. We need to get clear about our truth and take action in our truth. And the Nine of Wands can also be about defending that truth. So depending on where people are at in the cycle of this story, some people have decided to stand up for themselves. I have my truth. I want justice and fairness. And the Nine of Wands can be that I have good boundaries. High vibe people are willing to get to know other people. They treat other people the way they like to be treated. But not just anyone is going to get in a more involved friendship or relationship with them because they've been enlightened to the truth. Some people are more immature. Some people are more about themselves. Some people are wanting to be in friendship and relationship for ulterior purposes. So now they've learned to stand up for themselves. And some other people are still wounded and they're still defensive. So next we have a card not showing itself. And the reason it came out is because of the Eight of Swords and the High Priestess. So the High Priestess, again, the feminine figures can talk about how we think and feel. And the Eight of Swords is Gemini energy of our dualistic nature. The High Priestess can talk about listening to our intuition. Some people have some fear of listening to their intuition because their intuition might tell them the one pentacle can be having a new beginning. And we might be defensive of closing out a chapter in our life and listening to our intuition. You know, it's kind of like we've all been given the gift of our intuition, which is kind of like all the different animals in the animal kingdom, and we're part of the animal kingdom. They've been given their own unique things, like birds and butterflies know to fly to a warmer climate when the temperature changes, even though they may have never been, might have been born in a certain part of the country or the world. But then when the temperature changes, sounds like it has something to do with in their eyes, and it's just like they don't question it. They don't have free will, instinct, fly that way. And even though they've never done it, and it's like, and again, like I'm flying for 4 or 5 days a week. What the hell? That's different. But they don't really question it. They do it. But we as human beings, you could look at the Justice card as our dualistic nature too. We have the free will to listen to our intuition, or, pride comes before the fall, and we could think we're so smart, I'm not going to listen to my intuition, which then we could kind of look at the Justice card as being our higher self that has our best interest at heart, like our soul. Our soul wants us to love and believe in ourselves, but in our kind of worldly nature, we want to go indulge in some things in our more immature nature, right? Because we're kind of defensive of listening to our intuition. And then we have the Star card of believing in ourselves and believing in our dreams. And, in our more worldly nature of free will, we could think, I need to work with these things of the world. I have this dream. And then we have the Five of Swords and the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords and the Star card are both Aquarius energy, which can talk about, I have these dreams of things I'd like to invest in that I think are just and fair, but I have mental conflict, is what the Five of Swords can talk about, which is also Aquarius energy. And it's also air sign energy. Libra is air sign energy of the mind. Gemini over here is air sign energy. I have this dualistic nature is what my Gemini nature is about. I do have this dream of these things of the way I want to live my life and what I'd like for my life that I think is kind of just and fair. But I'm kind of defensive to believing in myself. And again, in our worldly nature, it's like I kind of feel like I need to work more with these things of the world. I live in the world, and isn't that the truth? Well, kind of at the big picture, we kind of refer to as our more worldly, shadowy, immature, worldly nature is represented by the devil, and high vibe energy, kind of represented by God. We need a way to define these things, so whether you're religious or not. But it's believing or seeing the truth that we do live in a world of duality. We see people being more just and fair, more loving, more encouraging, treating other people like they like to be treated. We see other people in the world being more selfish, more greedy, hurtful, unkind. It's like the whole spectrum. Jesus and Mother Teresa over here, and completely awful people over there. And then we got all the people in between. And if the bell curve in statistics is correct, majority of the people are somewhere around trying to decide what their truth is. And then we got the people who have definitely more high vibe, more low vibe, and then the other people are trying to figure out what their truth is. And we're probably going to have to go through some life experiences because we have a hard time listening to our intuition. And it's not like our intuition is yapping in our ear all the time for most people until you kind of get more attuned with it. I have found it very helpful at work. Any little thing, if something kind of pops in my head, it's like, that's weird. Why am I thinking about that thing that I might have done last week, like at work? I was like, shit, I'm going to go check it out. And then you kind of find out, like, oh, there was an error on that. And it's like, thank you. It's kind of the thing that I'm sure you've probably read articles about how our brain and our life and living our life and with our eyeballs and seeing the world, that our brain takes in so much information that we don't even see. I mean, we see it, but there's so much to take in. It's like these little things out of the corners of our eye, or these subtle things that, if it's not sometimes obvious and right in our face, it's just something that our brain, kind of like like a computer, takes note of, but we're not like consciously aware of it. But then later we might become and remember something as like, wait a minute, I remember, and it was this passing comment, or out of the corner of my eye I saw this. That we take in so much more information than we think we do, is kind of what some of this is making me think of. But again, it's kind of relating that aspect of ourself that takes in so much information, kind of on a subconscious level, but it does take in that information. And so then when we kind of get ourselves in some more crucial moments in our life, it's kind of like all that's going on in the background in our mind, kind of like doing all the calculations. And that can be kind of our intuition that has taken in more of this information and processed it kind of behind the scenes and in a subconscious level than we're kind of really aware of. And that can be like when your intuition is like, when we're going to go do something, our intuition's like, and that's when you almost do hear like an audible voice that's like going off in your head saying, I don't think you should do that. I don't think this is a good idea. I think you should go home now. you know, but us and our worldly nature, because, the Nine of Wands is fire sign energy. We can be attracted to people. There can be things we want to go indulge in that we could think is just and fair or would make us happy or seems to be aligned with our truth, we think. But the whole thing is, as people have lived more life, they think back on those times. In the Four of Pentacles, maybe about the people in their life at different times in their life that were more emotionally mature, stable, grounded, and loving, and just and fair, but we were defensive to them because we had some growing up and maturing to do. And we also might think about some people in our life that harness that energy in a more shadowy way, who, male or female, that weren't very just and fair, that were more caught up in themselves or more caught up in whatever they were caught up in, right? So we've met all these different people in the world. We've kind of been at all these different stages of life and emotional maturity. Are we willing to call judgment on ourselves? There are all these different people in the world. I've met all these kind of different people in the world. I can't make other people hold themselves accountable. I can't make other people grow up and mature themselves. I can't make other people work through their fears and their insecurities. I can't make people quit being more about themselves, more about the world, or things they like to indulge in. I can't make people be more just and fair, but I can invest in myself, and I can be inspired to kind of wrap my brain around this game of life, and I can work through my own fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs and past pain and heartbreak and connect in with my own more emotionally loving nature. Sometimes we've been wounded and we're looking for other people to play that role in our life. The King and Queen of Pentacles is the only married through the deck, but it can also represent like nurturing, supportive people in our life, like moms and dads and stuff. And sometimes we're kind of looking for people to play that role in our life because we maybe didn't feel like some of the relationships we were in that we really, it's kind of a little bit, I mean, for some people it was definitely atrocious or something, but for other people it could just be that you could kind of look at Libra and the Justice card as like kind of being able to work through your mental conflict about things that you didn't think were just and fair. And I think part of our, because we feel wounded, and because in the Five of Swords we have this mental conflict that there's been people in our life that we wanted to love us, be nurturing, be supportive. We wanted them to free themselves from things that maybe manipulated them to be more just and fair and loving. And that woundedness kind of keeps us tipped in favor of kind of still being kind of in our ego about it because of feeling wounded. And it can make us be afraid of trusting people. But I do think that we'll kind of be drawn and attracted to some people because the reason some of those people we were drawn and attracted to, kind of on a subconscious level, they could have kind of reminded us of some people in our life that had some of those same traits and characteristics, and we wanted justice. And we couldn't get justice with those people. But then if we can get in a relationship with someone, whether it's just a friendship with someone who kind of has some of those traits and characteristics of some other people in our life that we didn't feel we got justice with, or a romantic partner, it's kind of a way for us to work through that mental conflict we had by dealing with someone else who has some of those same traits and characteristics. Now that it's kind of as simple as that. We probably don't get sometimes in a relationship with someone who we think definitely, strongly has some of those traits and characteristics to a certain degree. It's like as if we're looking for someone that has some of those traits and characteristics, maybe to a lesser degree, that they might be more flexible. The fives talk about change, that maybe this is someone who has some of those traits and characteristics, but I think if I am just and fair and loving and encouraging to them, that I can illuminate them to the truth and I can get them to change. So if they're a little bossy or controlling, or they're a little immature, or they're a little bit emotionally defensive, or they're a little more tipped in favor of being about themselves, or whatever these things of the world they could go invest in other than love, I think this is someone I can change, and we can spend a lot of our life doing that. And part of the reason shadowy energy is kind of like we don't want to see the truth. And the truth is, why are we getting in relationships at all with people who show us that they have some of these shadowy traits and characteristics, like people we've already known, that we already know the relationship doesn't work out because our truth is different. Why don't I go get in relationships with people who seem to be more on the same page as me? Well, sometimes there is no one in our environment that is kind of in that energy. And in our worldly nature, we want to be in friendship and relationship with people. We want justice. We want to invest in some of these things of the world that we want to manifest that we think is just and fair. It's just that sometimes then we will get in some of these more mismatched relationships and hope for the best. I kind of think as maybe people get older, it's like, I'm not doing that anymore. I have less time to waste. When I was 15, 18, 21, whatever, uh, I had a lot of lessons to learn. And going on all these experiences to get more clear about what my truth was, my truth wasn't. Probably ended up getting wounded, being up in my head. Why was I drawn and attracted to those people? Oh my gosh, I can't even trust my own picker. I need someone to help me because I can't trust my own judgment. And then you go through some more life experiences and you maybe have friends and family along the way to help you get a little more clear about what your truth isn't, trying to get you to see the truth about some of the ways you're living your own life that aren't really more balanced and kind of drive your life off into the ditch. And some of the people that you get kind of hang out with in friendships and relationships try to get you to kind of see the truth. But for a long time, we can be defensive to seeing that truth because we could feel like, well, then I can't go do any of those things. Well, high vibe energy is more like balance. We live in the world is meant to be enjoyed, but in a balanced way where we don't let those things that we might like to go indulge in to feel a little better. It's like not to excess, where I make those things of the world more important to be the answer to all my life problems than maintaining balance with myself. I can go invest in some things of the world, but I maintain balance. And high vibe Aquarius is about maintaining perspective. Can I enjoy some things of the world? Can some of those things make me feel better? I mean, an ice cream sandwich I can enjoy for a minute or two, however long it lasts. Does that mean I want to sit and eat ice cream sandwiches all day long, every day? That would be kind of being tipped out of balance, right? We're like making the ice cream sandwich have more power and giving it more power in our life than it has, right? And we're looking to something that doesn't isn't more aligned with truth and love. Keep things high vibe Aquarius, keep things in perspective. Look at life for the bigger picture. Keep focused on the bigger picture. Keep investing and maintaining balance within yourself. Go out and enjoy your life. Go enjoy the world. Take these lessons that you've learned from these life experiences with you. Listen to your intuition as you move forward in life, kind of how deciding I need to stand up for myself. I want justice and fairness and balance. I have fear about listening to my intuition because in the past, when I listened to my intuition, but was it really your intuition? Or is that a little bit more of your more immature, lustful, greedy nature that was kind of, we might want to blame our intuition, but it maybe wasn't our intuition that really was the problem, but we kind of don't want to see the truth. But Let's go see what this card is. The Four of Wands. When we're kind of up in our head about listening to our intuition, the Four of Wands is Aries energy about maybe being more bold and brave and confident. And to get to the Four of Wands from the Nine of Wands, we'd have to let go of the Five of Wands. And that can be our inner conflict. We want these things of the world. There's these things we want to manifest that we think could be just and fair. But it's kind of to see the truth. Would I want to go take that action more out of pride, ego, fear, insecurity, lust, greed, codependency, or truth and love and justice and fairness? And some people might, the Four of Wands can talk about coming together with other people. And so there could be some people right now that are maybe having to make a decision about, what is their truth? Are they more about themselves? Are they more about the world? Are they more inspired to make their life more about that? Are they more motivated and inspired by love? And we kind of like to be in relationships with people who are kind of on the same page as us. And if someone's kind of more about either being about themselves or these things they indulge in or these things of the world are more important than love, because again, in our Gemini nature of our free will, when we make a choice, another choice isn't chosen. We can't invest in two things at the same time. And for some people who did, that probably didn't turn out well for them. We have to pick a path. Life's about making these decisions. So there could be some people that are really trying to figure out what their truth is. And the Four of Wands, Aries energies about the self, could really be trying to figure out what their truth is and kind of what they're motivated and inspired by. Why do they take the action they take in the Five of Wands, the difference between the Nine and the Four? Why do I take the action I take? Why do I get in certain situations or relationships or go indulge in certain things? What is the truth that drives and motivates me? What about the different people I could be in friendship or relationship with? Why do those people want to be in friendship or relationship with me versus some other people? Because just like we have our dualistic nature, we're dealing with these other people in the world that have their dualistic nature. Who's kind of more aligned with our truth? Who am I going to invest more of my time, energy, and effort into? And I have to be willing to see the truth because I could make decisions more out of fear and insecurity and codependency and lust and greed, materialism or something, status image. And other people could make decisions to be in a relationship with me for those different reasons. What is my truth? And I have to be willing, do I think I'm a just and fair person? Well, am I in relationships and friendships with people who are just and fair? Well, we can all have some fear and insecurities and be a little defensive. Well, are we willing to communicate with the people in our life about some of those fears and insecurities and mental conflict that we have? Or not? Are we not willing to communicate our truth? Are we just going to keep being up in our head, feeling defensive? Well, the Five of Swords can talk about it causes conflict in a relationship if people aren't investing in emotionally speaking their truth. Some people already got out of relationships, and there was someone, they either had been in a relationship, a lot of different reasons why people aren't in our life. And I think the high vibe people are investing in truth and love And in high vibe, the pentacle is truth and love. They're offering themselves truth and love to accept that some people aren't coming together with them in relationship. And we could have to accept that some people in our life maybe aren't coming into relationship with us because of different ways we've acted in our life. And they're like, yep, nope. I don't care if you grew and matured yourself. I'm not interested. You know? And other people, maybe they have growing up and maturing to do. And maybe, it's just to try to see the truth to the best of your ability. And sometimes with some people, we don't know them well enough, or we've been out of contact with people that we really, because people going down the road of life, they can kind of drive their life off into the ditch. And, if we knew them at one point in time, they might not be that same person really anymore, right? So I think high vibe people the truth sets us free. I can only invest in bringing a dream into reality with other people who are willing to invest in me and work together with me to bring that dream into reality together. And if there's some people who aren't doing that and apparently don't want to for whatever reasons of their own, it can kind of be like high vibe energy saying, keep being focused on the bigger picture. With the Star card and the Queen of Swords, from the Eight of Swords down to the Five of Swords, work through the Three of Swords, which is Libra energy that, we can all have different ideas of what we think is just and fair, and what our idea of the dream life and the dream relationship, and, all these different ways that we view life, and what is a certain mix that we think would make us happy. It's kind of like, again, trying to find a best friend, and like dating people and finding someone that you really have that special connection with. Not everyone you meet becomes your best friend. Not everyone you date is like, oh my God, I love you. I suppose for some people it might be that way, but that might be because they just want to be in a friendship or relationship that is kind of willing to stay in denial of the truth. And other people are like, I don't kind of think we quite get along like that, and I don't want to mislead you, and I don't want to get myself entangled up in something that really isn't aligned with my truth, and I don't want to mislead people, and, I'm going to try to deal with the truth here. So let's go see what these three cards are. The Nine of Pentacles, the Six of Pentacles, and the King of Swords. Well, in high vibe, the Nine of Pentacles, the Six of Pentacles, and the Six of Swords, Virgo, Taurus, and Libra, and Aquarius energy. Some people are more independent, and then two cards of balance. They are more stable and grounded within themselves. They kind of know their worth and value. They've worked through some of their fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs and some past pain and heartbreak just to be a more independent person in the world versus a more codependent person. And we've all been codependent, I believe. And from the 9 down to the 6, letting go of the 3 of Pentacles, I've lived my life and come in contact with different people and gone through these stages of life that at least there's certain ways of viewing and living life. And for high vibe people, it'd be, I don't want to live more from my mind than my heart. I don't want to keep feeling defensive and wounded. I don't want to make my life more about me or being in a relationship just to be in a relationship, or indulge in these things to a degree that it tips my life out of balance. So from this 9 down to the 6 is letting go of the 3 of Pentacles, which can be operating from your more worldly focused foundation of self. And I'm more inspired to work with in my worldly nature of self, to have more hope and faith and belief in a higher truth and justice. And the King of Swords also I view as Libra energy. And those people, when they went through certain phases of life, they learned the lesson they were meant to learn there. That's high vibe Virgo energy of the Nine of Pentacles. I go through these different stages of life and I learn these lessons. And when my intuition and my higher self is telling me it's kind of time for you to move forward, that phase of life was great. Was it just and fair to be at these different ages and stages of life? Yes, but we didn't plan to live our life like that forever. And we might stay there more out of fear and insecurity because we aren't inspired within ourselves to kind of know our worth and value and having some hope and faith and belief in ourselves. And we'd have to kind of stand up for our truth and being more independent. And we could have friends or family. The Four of Wands, again, can be people that we've come together with at one time, either in our original family or a friend group or a workplace, that I think I'm ready to become independent of this. And if it's possible, if it's just like friendships and relationships, I think the high vibe people would have love for those people, but I do have this dream, and it is being more independent from this. I don't want to keep repeating a certain way of living life forever. It's kind of like the building blocks to kind of grow up. And I view the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy. And over here, the Three of Pentacles I was talking about is Capricorn energy. Are we more invested in our more worldly nature or our more hopeful, believing, loving nature? And that would be kind of trying to grow ourselves to our full potential. And it doesn't mean you got to become some, live your life like other people and be driven and whatever. I mean, your truth, whatever your truth is, right? And that I have this dream. And some of the people we might communicate that with, some of those people, they harness that energy differently. They could still be more about their worldly nature, still maybe like to maybe live more for their mind than their heart, maybe a little bit more about staying in their comfort zone, have their truth, have their idea of the dream life. And it's just like we look at all the different people in the world and how they live their life and kind of what drives and motivates them, and and the activities. We're trying to find people who are kind of more on the same page as us. And can we all get along? Yeah, some of the people we do, some of the people we don't, because we're just so different, right? In how we think and our different philosophies. And some people we could have thought, there could be some people who never really want to come together with other people. Maybe the Nine of Pentacles can be single. Maybe they grew up with some issues about the King and Queen of Pentacles is also the only married suit of the deck, that some people really could have went through some life experiences that I think that is shadowy. And, we have to respect everybody's truth, and if you don't, that's not your idea of the dream life because of some experiences you maybe went through, well, there's probably going to be some people they could come in contact with that they could like and like them and love them, that would, maybe want to get married, maybe want to have a family. And some other people are like, nope, that I think that's a sham or something, and they don't want to do it. And so sometimes we get out of relationships with those people. And the queens, again, the Queen of Swords can talk about how we feel betrayed. And the Five of Swords could be that we have mental conflict, but the Five of Swords, like the Queen of Swords and the Star card, is about I have this dream and you have your dream and your truth and what you think is just and fair and how you want to live your life, and I have my dream and what I think would be more emotionally fulfilling. You have yours. Some people are more fearful. Some people are more immature. Some people definitely like to live more from their mind than their heart, because if you do love, you get hurt and they don't want to do that. And so, whatever the case is, though, I think high vibe people are just and fair. They treat other people the way they like to be treated, and they want just and fair, emotionally mature relationships. And then there's some people in the world that it's like, hey, I'd be in a relationship with you, but I don't want to do that. I got a conflict with that. Like, I don't want to be just and fair. I'd have to grow up and mature myself. No, I'm not doing that. Male or female. Um, you know, and you kind of find that out with some people as you're moving forward in your life, like you have with other people in your life. And we can all get in relationships because we've been wounded, because we're kind of up in our head. There's these things we want to be in friendship and relationship and community with people. And we have this dream, and we can overlook some of the differences, and we can take a job, get in a relationship, date someone, marry someone. And we could all think it's all going to work out the way we want, but if we're we're either willing to kind of grow up and mature ourselves with each other, just like we have with friends and family members, right? If we're all willing to do that, but everybody has to be willing to kind of compromise, right? And if people are more like, well, no, I think it should be more about me, or I should be the more indulged person, or we should do it this way, and I don't look at life that way, and that's not my truth. And we're gonna have some problems in relationships, and sometimes we can work through a lot of things with people, but then we can get down to kind of ultimately the Four of Pentacles can be kind of the core foundational truth that we want to hold on to. And then we have this card, the Ace of Pentacles. So the Ace of Pentacles, over here we kind of had all three of the air sign energies, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. The pentacle of the Ace of Pentacles can kind of represent all three of the earth sign energies in our Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn energy, which can be what is our philosophy of life, like a core foundational truth we have. Is it more about, and Capricorn can be about what we view as victorious and successful? Or are we more caught up in the world? Are we more balanced? Are we willing to speak our truth, have hope and faith and belief in love, look at life from a higher perspective, that there is a higher truth and justice than just being about myself or these things of the world, or not? In Virgo energy, the other earth sign energy, what is my truth and what is my philosophy of life? And sometimes in our air sign energy of kind of what our truth is, and in our free will, our idea of the dream life, and in our earth sign energy is really kind of not on the same page with some people who in their air sign and earth sign energy are more motivated and inspired to keep growing and healing and maturing themselves, keep freeing themselves from things that manipulate them, quit letting the world manipulate them, quit letting their worldly egoic nature manipulate them. High vibe energy is being more independent instead of like kind of mixing in with the herd, following the crowd, conforming to the world. I have my own authentic truth, and from high vibe energy, I'm not trying to cause chaos, disruption, offend people. I just want to go live my authentic truth from love. And I don't want to make my life more. I don't want all these things to keep manipulating me. I don't want my immature nature to manipulate me. I don't want my mind to manipulate me. I don't want my defensiveness or past pain and heartbreak to manipulate me. And I am willing to put in this work and effort to get more balance within myself, to take action from having healed, to keep moving forward, believing in my dreams and investing in my truth. And if there's people in my life who this is their truth, where they view life differently, then I wish you peace and love. Go do that. Because we've all been at stages of our life where other people were more bold and brave and confident than us, and we were like, oh wow, I wish I was there, but I'm not. But you go, girl, you go, boy. And I'm going to hang back here with my friends, and hopefully one day we'll get there. So we've all, we're all on our own journey. And if we get to a place where a way that we're living our life, we kind of get tired of it, and it's like, that's it. I cannot keep staying here. I feel wounded. I feel defensive. All these things I thought I was living my life thinking it was going to be great, and something about it isn't anymore. I'm not willing to keep denying the truth and turning my back. I am going to invest in myself and stand up for myself and work through my own fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs to invest in myself, to get more balance within myself and believe I deserve to love myself and believe in myself. And instead of looking to the world to invest in me or other people, I'm going to do that within myself. I'm going to invest in myself. I am going to work through these things. Can I have friends and family who are loving and encouraging and supportive too? Yeah, but in the past, I might have definitely looked to those people. And if I didn't have those people in my life, I'd be like, oh my God, how can I possibly do this without these supportive or encouraging people in my life? I need to learn to kind of be my own best mother, father, coach voice in my head. And our more worldly nature that is kind of defensive to being hurt and also kind of wants to be more immature doesn't like it when we invest in kind of growing and maturing ourselves, because our shadow nature is scared. We get hurt out there. We should just keep doing what we've been doing. And our high vibe nature says in the Four of Pentacles, I'm holding back from doing that. I'm not doing that anymore. I've already been there and I've done it. We kind of did it your way. And just like we have our shadow nature, we have other people in our life that were probably in our life when we were in at whatever stage of life we were at, because we were kind of on the same page. And so we were in friendships and relationships with those people. And some of the people that we had been in friendship or relationship with at some point in our time also don't like when we are investing in working through all these issues within ourselves, because we're changing, and it kind of changes how we view ourselves, how we view others, how we view the world, what we believe is possible. We work through some past pain, heartbreak, fears, and insecurities, and it kind of frees us to shed an old layer of ourselves, because the truth sets us free. And some of those people don't want to do whatever. They could either be just perfectly fine living their life like that, and it's like, why'd you change? Or in order to move forward with you, they'd have to kind of look or work through some of those issues. But that takes some work and effort to emotionally, or to stand up for themselves, or speak their truth to themselves, stand up to their own shadow nature, stand up to people in their life, get more balance within themselves, have a little more hope or faith and belief in themselves or others or in their dreams. And one or all of those things could cause them a lot of mental conflict. And some people just don't want to change. This is good. Let's keep doing this. And some of those people will keep doing that. And in the Four of Pentacles, they want to hold on to a certain way of living life or viewing life or ways of treating people or what, they think are just and fair. And that is what they're going to keep investing in. They are not willing to detach from an old way of living life or viewing life to move forward in life differently. And some people that are kind of in those situations right now, there could be some conflict and fighting about how they're going to move forward next, because one person wants to keep doing it the way they've been doing it, and one or more of the other people want to move forward differently. But it can be this problem where it's like, well, I don't really want to leave and I don't want you to leave, and you're trying to work it out. For the people where everybody has to be willing to compromise. I'm not going to get all the things that I want. If I want to be single, well, then I can go do whatever the hell I want, right? If I'm going to work together with other people, well, for me to think like, well, I don't want to give up anything, but you should give up a lot of things. You give up this, and that's where some people kind of feel betrayed because they feel like they have to give up or detach from or compromise or something, and they could think they shouldn't have to, and they don't want to. Well, for some of the people, just like we could have supervisors and coworkers that are quite stubborn and my way or the highway and unwilling to budge. Well, they could have some people in their life that, in a lot of ways, in the King of Swords and the Queen of Swords, there could have been a lot of things they kind of had in common and kind of seemed to have the similar dream and vision in a lot of things. But if one of the people kind of feels betrayed, like, you might think this is just and fair, but I could feel like there's something about that I don't think is just and fair. And if the other person harnesses this energy in a shadowy way, it's like, oh, well, they could think, I don't think you'll love and believe in yourself to become independent of it. An employer can do that with an employee, a friend, or a family member, or a romantic interest. And that's where people can feel manipulated. I think you use the love that I have for you, or the fact that I could like this job, like the people. I don't want this to be a problem, but I think there should be more willingness to be more just and fair. And who are the people who are least defensive, most defensive to change? The people who it benefits them not to change. And high vibe people are trying to be just and fair, willing to compromise, but partly that can be what the other people don't like. But you want me to be that type of person, and that's not the truth of who I am. And if I wanted to do it that way, I would be that type of person. But I'm not that type of person. I'm this type of person. I harness these energies in a more shadowy way, and I defend that position. And for a long time, and there might be some people right now that, we all have to make these decisions and listen to our own intuition and take all our own life circumstances into consideration And there's some people right now that could have some mental conflict with how things are going with some of the people in their life, but they're not willing. And definitely, if it's, we can extend more grace to family members, other people in the world. You're not my family. I'm not going to have a connection with you all my life. Um, Other people, so kind of in a way, we could always have people in our life that we might keep our distance from them. They might keep their distance from us. But nobody really wants to completely separate it, kind of willing. It's different if it's a friend or a family member. You stay over there, I'm going to stay over here. I don't like you right now, you don't like me. I'm going through this, you're going through that, whatever. We're kind of moving at different stages of life, and we can do that. If it's a romantic interest, well, that's a little more difficult, right? And then some people are going to stay in it for their decisions that they're going to make and why. And other people could tell some people, I'm not going to keep investing in this. And again, everybody can feel betrayed. Everybody can, this would have worked out fine. You should think the way I think. It's like, but I don't think the way you think, and what drives and motivates you, and why you get in it, why you stay in it, and why you want me to stay in it. That to you could make perfectly logical sense. And based on how you view life, you think that makes sense. But I might think you live more from your mind than your heart, and you're kind of fearful of connecting in with your more emotional nature so we could have a more balanced relationship. You know, Maybe put in work and effort to have stability and security, but also put in work and effort to have a more emotionally meaningful connection. And if you have mental conflict with that because of issues that might have gone on in your life, I can't make you work through those issues to see I'm not like some of the people that you've been in a relationship with. And if you can't see the difference, then shadowy energy can be where your judgment's kind of clouded, and can just be, and that can be where some people are at too, where I'm too wounded, and they need to respect that. And there could be people that would like to be in relationship with them. And some of the people in their life, if they know that's their truth, some of those people are willing to respect that truth. I'm not in the relationship for these ulterior purposes. So long as we can keep working together in truth and love and justice and fairness, I'm willing to keep working with you. But if it seems that whatever it could be, if it's a little more shadowy, then I might not keep investing in it. So, what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe? Everybody is basically defending their truth of how they view the world and how they want to live their life. And on both sides or all sides of that, there's going to be different people in their life that are not going to invest in them because that's not their truth. So, what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Libra energy? Who are willing to learn lessons in life, get out of their ego, work through their fears and their insecurities, and grow up and mature themselves, and have maybe been doing that. What is coming up for those people? They could be thinking of having a new beginning, but they're just not doing it yet. It can take time to work through some issues of some things that at one time we thought would be just and fair and they weren't. And we feel defensive and wounded. And, kind of got to work through it all. But for the people who are working through it, staying focused on the big picture, investing in their truth, the king, with the King of Pentacles here, they're doing that work to free themselves from things that used to manipulate them to go have this new beginning. They could have just communicated to people in their life, this is how I'm moving forward. This is my truth. Do you want to come with or not? Giving people time to work through their own issues to decide if they want to come with in that way or not. Just like you can treat people in your neighborhood, your community, or your workplace like that. It's like, but I'm not going to stay here forever. If I've been investing in people and people keep seeming to be defensive and stressed out and defensive, eventually it's like, I wish you peace. I accept the truth that some things are going on that makes it difficult for you to work with people in a more just and fair way. I wish you peace. And I'm going to focus. And then you'd probably quit investing more in them. And you would go look to other people to invest more of your time, energy, and effort into. And defending the people in your life who do work with you that way. And if you're in a romantic relationship and you have this kind of high vibe relationship, you would defend that relationship too. And it's like, I'm not looking to get in a relationship with someone else. I'm not more tempted in my worldly nature. I might struggle with it a bit and have to think about it. Because in our worldly nature, we can really be tempted by the world. But if I'm in relationships with people who are more independent, do equal give and take, are just and fair, might have an issue, some of them getting married, then, everybody has to make that decision, and some of those people will defend those people. Other people are already maybe in a relationship or a marriage, and if somebody else comes along, it might cause them a little mental conflict, but I'm not going to be more tempted in my worldly nature if I'm in a high vibe relationship. If I'm not in a high vibe relationship, it definitely might cause me more inner conflict. I might work on the one I'm in, but if I put that work and effort in and things don't change, what the people might not know is that I am willing to leave this relationship. And some other people might want to think, oh, I don't think you will. It's like, yes, I will. How long am I going to stay in a relationship with people who are defensive to growing up and maturing themselves or being more just and fair? What's coming up for the high vibe people that they don't see coming? The Seven of Wands. Why? Because of the Knight of Wands. Well, the Knight of Wands, like the Nine of Wands, is Sagittarius energy. You are inspired to stand up. The Knights can talk about fighting for things that we believe in. Because you are willing to fight for your truth and what you think is just and fair, you made that decision to stand up for yourself. And if there were some people in your life who you felt were motivated and inspired by something other than truth and love and justice and fairness, you called judgment on them and you didn't want to be in a relationship with them anymore. And you have become independent of them. And you are looking to the future, and you have changed, and you have done this work within yourself to grow and mature yourself. And you are ready, you were kind of taking this time. The Seven of Wands is Leo energy, and high vibe Leo can be where you're doing this work to be loving and encouraging and supportive to yourself and investing in people who are loving and encouraging of you to... From the Nine of Wands down to the Seven of Wands and the 9 to the 1, to move away from people in your life who You felt like, you have different dreams and motivations, and then to let go of that old dream, to work through your mental conflict that you did have a dream that you had once defended and wanted to have come into reality, but both people have to be willing to defend it. Both people have to be willing to speak the truth. Both people have to become independent of an old phase of life and get balance within themselves and be willing to change and stand up for it and invest in it and be just and fair. And if they weren't, those are the people you're not being in relationship with anymore, and you're becoming independent of them. And the difference between the one wand and the seven of wands is the six of wands, which, like the seven of wands, is Leo energy, which is getting out of your ego about it. I'm not going to keep staying defensive. I'm not going to keep staying up in my head. I'm not going to keep feeling betrayed. That is not just and fair. That is not like the soil I want to grow my life in. So I am inspired to wrap my brain around this game of life. So I'm going to be inspired within myself to look at life from the bigger picture, put things in perspective, quit exchanging resources with people who aren't kind of more on the same page as me, stand up for my truth, get balance within myself, heal, and accept the truth. And then I have freed myself, and I have healed and grown and matured myself, and then I am ready to go on this new adventure, moving forward with the people in my life who do want to move forward with me in that way. And I think you will move forward looking very victorious and successful and kind of an inspiration to other people, because you could have driven your life off into the ditch, but you've probably done that before, so you didn't want to repeat that pattern. And sometimes that's why some people are hurtful and unkind. Because sometimes we can get in relationships with people, but shadowy energy again can be where people are just creating the illusion they're more just, stable, grounded, and mature than they really are. And during the course of the friendship or the relationship, you could have grown up and matured yourself, and they didn't. And then shadowy energy can be their kind of in competitive energy with you. Like you are the competition to defeat. And the Five of Swords can be people who want to win at all costs. And if they view themselves as having this certain view of themselves, but you are kind of more the real deal, then other people could see that theirs is a little more shadowy, and then they don't have mental conflict with that truth. And instead of dealing with the truth of how, well, I like to view myself that way, but I'm really still, it's kind of more of a mental construct about the type of person I am, and I live more from my mind than my heart, or I really present myself this way, but I'm really more immature, and I have all these issues that get me up in my head and manipulate me, but I don't ever deal with them. And you can see where people could be jealous and envious of people who seem to have freed themselves from what some other people haven't like mentally freed themselves from. And they could think, and they could be very smart people, but you have to be balanced, and you have to be willing to connect more maybe in with your intuition and keep things in perspective. And if they have fear of kind of connecting in with their emotions, because we're emotionally complex human beings, and some people could have decided that's too confusing, I don't want to do it, I'm just going to live more from my mind than my heart, and I don't really look at life from a higher perspective, and I think I'm right. It's like, you be right then and enjoy your life. But they can have a lot of mental conflict that if they were more manipulative, they're mad that loving people weren't willing to kind of keep indulging them in a workplace, friendship, or relationship, because they liked it when you did. And you are willing to maybe do that for a long time, but eventually it's like, I'm not going to keep indulging people. I'm hoping to be loving and encouraging, so you'll work through some of your issues so we can move forward in a more just and fair and balanced way. But if that's not going to happen, I'm not going to keep investing more time, energy, and effort into it. I accept your truth. And I see our truth is different. And then I think when you move forward in a more kind of more mature way than you might have moved forward in your life before, not going to go indulge yourself in more taking action because you're wounded or up in your head or because you feel betrayed or because you got mental conflict, you're keeping things in balance, enjoying your life in moderation. Other people see the truth that you're doing that. Everybody knows people could go take action from more shadowy places, but you've already been there and done that. And if you do that, you're planting bad seeds and you're probably going to reap a bad harvest. So you're not doing that. I'm going to invest in my truth, communicate to other people, and inspire other people to work together with me in this way. And if they want to, they want to. If they don't, they don't. But this is my truth. And I think as you do that, other people who are in that energy are like, you're my kind of person. I want to move forward with you and some of the people you're hanging out with. You guys seem just and fair and emotionally mature and stable and grounded and loving and less manipulative or deceptive or immature or fearful or competitive. So I think you're going to move forward in a victorious and successful way because this opened you up to your more kind of high vibrational inspired nature of investing in loving yourself, basically, to in a healthy sense to stand up for what's truth, what's just and fair. What's coming up for some people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy that they might not see coming? I would say I think they're defensive. They're kind of get up in their head, fearful of listening to their intuition, like to live more from their mind than their heart. Doesn't matter maybe if they have loving people in their life or people who are kind of more on the same page as them, kind of defensive to everybody. The people in their life who are kind of on the same page as them, so long as those people aren't looking at life from any other perspective or growing or healing and maturing themselves or requiring them to do it, they'll keep staying in a friendship or relationship with them. They have a certain way of living life. That's kind of their truth, and they don't want to do life differently. And the more high vibrational people in their life are kind of more defensive to them. They might be trying to tempt them in their lust, their greed, their pride, their ego, their codependency, and some people just create the illusion always that I will be more just and fair, and some people have heard it long enough and they're starting to realize, I don't think that's ever going to happen. The Four of Swords and the Ace of Pentacles. Why? Because of the King of Swords. So, if the worldly shadowy, more people who like to live more from their mind than their heart, have people in their life who live their life that way, well, they're all on the same page. They view life that way, whatever it is, and for some of them, it could be, that I am willing to invest in you because I think that's just and fair. We're on the same page. Or a more worldly thing could be people who don't like to not be in a relationship or think being married says something kind of about their worth of value, kind of like more conforming to kind of like the establishment or something. If they think it's good for their status, their image, they would maybe be willing to get married. Some people who do that, some people might not accept their offer, either just because they don't want to get married or because they think how they want to move forward and their idea of the dream life is different. Basically, the more high vibrational people in their life are going to heal. And that's the problem with some of the worldly, shadowy people. They never want to deal with the truth of what manipulates them. But other people, periodically during their life, kind of have these things that bother them. And then if they're in a relationship, especially if it's a relationship where it seems like they're being loving and encouraging, regardless of what their ulterior motives could be, other people can heal in that environment. And it could just provide a place of where it's stable and kind of provides a sense of balance in their life. A lot of people, when they're in that type of environment, get inspired to kind of work through some of their fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs. And sometimes those people do it because they don't want to sabotage the relationship. And they feel like if I don't do it, these people could feel like, I'm more immature, I'm more stressed out, I'm more defensive. And then if they do that work, some of the more worldly, shadowy people get defensive to them. It's like, what the fuck? If I wanted to be in a relationship with someone who's more balanced, more healed, more mature, I would have gotten in a relationship with someone like that to begin with. Those kind of people probably already left my life. I defend, being in relationships that are more like this. And some people like to be in relationships with people who are more immature or more defensive or have unresolved pain and heartbreak because they like to seem like they are this just and fair and loving person. But they want those people to keep investing in them and being codependent on them. And if those people do this work within themselves to work through some of those issues and become independent of it, where they're more on the same page now, like a counterpart, balanced, some of the shadowy people don't like that. If I wanted a more balanced relationship, I would have gotten in it. I don't. I like a more imbalanced relationship. I like you being defensive, being up in your head, not believing in yourself, being more codependent, looking to me like a shining star in the world to be the answer to all your problems. So you keep staying in a relationship whether I bring justice to the situation or I bring the dream into reality or I marry you or I don't. I want you more codependent. I always want you healing. I never want you to come out of healing. Well, the problem is other people heal. And then when some of those people heal and they move on, then these people go try to find someone else to repeat this pattern with. Because it's one thing for them to be in a relationship where other people have to change. But if you get in a relationship with someone who's more on the same page as you, then you both have to be willing to change. It's like, well, no, I'd rather be in a relationship where it's always them who has to change, never me. And some people are going to go try to find those relationships. Other people are more about looking like a shining star in the world. The most important thing is for them to have a certain status or image in the world. And if they think the people they're in a relationship with, like they wouldn't have enough money or power or status or influence, they're going to go try to find someone who they think, indulge that person because that's what the most important thing is. Or if they think they have have that way of persona or something about them, then they think other people should indulge them in a relationship. High vibe energy is supposed to be about love, and you treat other people the way you like to be treated. A more shadowy relationship is that whoever seems to have more of the power or what people want, they're the more indulged person in the relationship. And then some of those types of people can be defensive to people who are doing truth and love. For one, they don't even understand that way of like relationship dynamic. And it could be like, well, then would you be the more powerful person? And they just can't really wrap their brain around it. The high vibe people in their life aren't trying to manipulate and control them. I just want to be in an authentic, loving relationship. And they're like, huh? No, someone has more power and control. And so that's why I don't do love, because then you could manipulate me because I love you. So I'm not doing that. And so some people could have even been in relationships with people that it would have been independent, balanced, just, fair, seemed like their dream relationship. But eventually it started to cause them too much mental conflict because they weren't willing to free themselves from this more shadowy philosophy of life and move forward in life differently and see the truth. So they're going to repeat an old pattern because they still have healing to do. And while they're repeating an old pattern, other people are moving forward. We'll all keep repeating a pattern over and over and over. The truth sets us free, and some people don't want to see the truth. As some of you are moving forward, there could be some people that don't want you to move forward without them. Like if you're going to move forward, they want to move forward with you. And you'll just listen to your intuition about, are you high vibe or are you more immature? And I'm willing to invest in you to work through to see if we're more compatible or not. But if you're not, I'm moving on. If we do seem to work it out and we are kind of on the same page, we'll go on that adventure together. And the shadowy people are more about maybe doing what seems logical and practical. So there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.